Allopatric speciation. Allopatric speciation is a speciation or formation of new species due to a geographical barrier. Now, this geographical barrier can be huge expanse of water, it can be a mountain, it can be glacier. Allopatric speciation basically it occurs due to geographical barrier, so it's also called geographical speciation. Allopatric speciation is the most commonly and very popularly studied form of speciation. Darwin found in the Galapagos Island that every island has a new type of finch, and this altered type of finch has a very special type of beak structure. Every island has its own characteristic finch bird that has a different shape of beak, different size of beak that corresponds to the diet it is having. And also there are certain time the coloration of the feather, that is a plumage coloration, also varied according to the environment it is living. If it's in a high mountain forest, a humid forest, then it's greenish color, or if it's living in a very desert like area of the Galapagos, that is in the shrubby area, then it's having a much gray color. So this type of speciation according to the habitat it is living and the isolation of these island resulted in many subspecies of a single founder species, and this adaptive radiation created many species, and this type of speciation is called allopatric speciation. Hello friends, I am Dr. Ayantika Das, and in this video I will be discussing about allopatric speciation, which is in the MSc as well as the BSc syllabus. So let's begin the video. Allopatry. Allo means other and patry means place. That is a speciation where the original population it is having a barrier, and the new species is developed on the either side of the barrier. This is the parent population which is getting divided, and new population, that is this can be population 1 and this is the population 2. So this when a parent population is divided into two population by a barrier, then the ecological niche in either of this part of the barrier will be different. So the organisms, the species of the original population will have different adaptations to the different ecological niche. For example, here we are seeing that this is the various type of finches that are found in Galapagos. Now the single finch species that came to this island, the archipelago island in the Galapagos. In the various islands, they are of different size and they have different ecological niche. Some of the islands they are very small and they have a shrubland type of vegetation, and some of the islands are large, so they have shrubland type of vegetation at lower elevation. At higher elevation, these islands have moist forest, and so we have a huge range of ecological niche. Some of the islands are even barren with just cactus, and so depending upon the type of vegetation the island is having, every finch in each and every island they developed a different beak shape and size depending upon the food availability. For example, I will be starting with the ground finch. Now this large ground finch, it has got a very strong beak, very large beak in fact. So this large beaked finch, it is feeding mostly on the seeds and nuts that it has to crack open. So as because of this, the finches, this large ground finch has got a very strong beak, very large beak, so that it can easily break open the seeds and eat them. So apart from that, there is also a medium ground finch which has got an intermediate type of beak size. And this medium ground finch, it it basically not only feeds on the seeds and nuts, but also it feeds on various vegetation as well as insects. So it is intermediate between this large ground finch which has a very large beak, and the very small ground finch which has got a very small beak. So again, this small ground finch, it only feeds on various insects and parasites that is found on the scales of iguana. So this small ground finch feeds basically on insects and parasites. Then we have the vegetarian finch. As the name suggests, it feeds on every parts of plant, that is from the flower to the seeds to the fruits, and all very tender part, that is the tender part of plant. So it has also got intermediate type of beak. And then we have the large tree finch. Now the large tree finch, they live basically on the trees and feeding on the insects, adult or larva stages of insects, and from the that is growing on the tree. So as because it is present mostly on the tree, and it requires a beak to just scrap off the cambium or the outer layer to take out the insect. So we see that they have got a much strong beak. But on the other hand, this medium tree finch, it is basically this medium tree finch, it is feeding on a wide range of both insects as well as the vegetables and all. So they have gotten they are generalist, and they have got much less wide type of beak. But this small tree finch, they are feeding on insects as well as fruits also. And they are also generalist like the medium tree finch. Then we have the woodpecker finch. It is also called the carpenter finch, because not only it uses its beak to take out the insects from the from inside the wood, inside the stem of the plant, but also it can use the needles of cactus plant to act as a fork to bring out the insects from inside the stem of the plant. So that is the woodpecker or the carpenter finch. Now we have the mangrove finch, which is also a generalist. That is, it feeds on not only the insects that is present in the mangrove area, but also any vegetable matter, or even the fruits of mangrove. Then we have the warbler finch. So this warbler finch, they basically there is two type of warbler finch depending upon the ecological niche. The warbler finch that is present in the shrubland, they have a grey plumage, while those warbler finch, that live in the moist forest up in the high mountainous region in the Galapagos. So those humid forest, high elevation humid forest, they are having the green subspecies of this warbler finch. And this the warbler finch, the gray one, they feed on the vegetable matter, and the green variety, they feed on the epiphytes as well as the lichens and insects that is present on the branch. So we see that they are both depending upon vegetable matter as well as the insects. This is the warbler finch. Then we have Cocos Island finch, which is not actually in the Galapagos. Cocos Island is in the Indian Ocean, north to the Australasian region. This Cocos Island is present. So this Cocos Island finch, it is also a adaptive radiation from the original finch, and this Cocos Island finch, they have also got subspecies in the in all the 27 islands. They have got some subspecies. So basically, then we have this sharp beaked ground finch. Now this sharp beaked ground finch is also called vampire finch because of its very interesting feeding habit. Now, this sharp-beaked vampire finch or sharp-beaked ground finch, they not only feed on the various insects as well as other type of seeds and fruits, but also it feeds on the blood of other birds like Nazca booby, the blue-footed as well as the red-footed booby. So this very sharp beak it has got, so that it can just injure the surface layer of the birds, so that it can feed on the blood. So the beak characteristic is very pointed and sharp. Then we have the cactus finch, the small cactus finch and the large cactus finch. So we see that the small cactus finch, it is feeding only on cactus, so it's got a very sharp beak so that it can feed on the flower and fruit of the cactus and not get injured by the spine of cactus. But on the other hand, this large cactus finch, it is a generalist, that is, it feeds both on the cactus as well as other type of vegetations. So it has got a much large beak. So we see that here, based on the type of vegetation, we are getting different beak size. But why are there different type of vegetation? This is because every island has got a different size and different range of niche. So as because the different range of niche are there, so the food habit, that is different type of food, different type of trees are growing. Some area have only cactus, some area have got moist trees and fresh water supply. So depending upon the food, they have got a beak structure, and that also is dependent upon the isolation. All these type of finches, they have developed from a single finch, and that has initially come to the Galapagos as a founder species. And according to the type of vegetation in each of the island, each of the bird have developed their beak. And as because there is separation, the separation of water body separation of these island due to the intermediate water body. So they each of these island finches, they do not interbreed that much. Few of the birds they interbreed, but most of them they are found in one or two island. Those birds that are present in more than two islands of the Galapagos Islands, they are generally least concerned species. Whereas those species that actually live in one or just two of the Galapagos Islands, these species actually are suffering from either inbreeding depression, or due to the extremely small size they are having a population bottleneck. Due to the anthropogenic influence, they are having a habitat destruction also. So their population has reached a bottleneck, and they are either vulnerable or critically endangered. So apart from that, I mean to say that this each of this species of finches have developed due to the separation of each island of not only from each other but also from the mainland. And this separation of allopatric islands is the main
for
allopatric
driving
speciation
force
barrier
behind the
is the prerequisite for
speciation.
formation of species. And in this process, three step speciation occur. The first is the barrier. This is the geographical isolation. This is the very first stage for speciation, as because there is a geographical isolation, say for example a geographical isolation. So each of this area will have their own niche, and the original population, they, in order to fit in the particular ecological niche, undergoes alternation in their genetic frequency. That is, for example, a particular gene is having many alleles, say allele 1, allele 2 or allele 3, each representing a particular beak size. So each of these beak sizes is represented by a particular allele. So in order to find food in a particular ecological niche, they express any of this particular allele that is specific for any species. This is mainly done, this alternation in the allelic frequency is mainly done to avoid intra-specific competition for food, because now they say for example in a particular island only, many finches live on some finch live on the shrubland, some finch live on the high elevation forest of the same area, of the same island. So in a same island, someone is living in the hill and someone is living in the coastal area, somebody is living in the intermediate area. So each of these ecological niche, that is these ecological niche, will have different food habit, and the finches, they have started feeding on a particular type of food in order to reduce the competition, and these altered food preferences has result in altered frequency of their gene. So this altered genetic frequency is the very second stage, and this altered frequency of their gene is inherited from generation to generation. And then in the very third stage, there they develop reproductive isolation. That is, just because they have altered frequency of their genetic frequency, they have started to evolve as a new species, and they have developed either pre or post zygotic barrier that will prevent them from mating even if the barrier is removed, which means that new species has already formed. So that is the third stage. That is the for reproductive isolation is the third stage. Now, what are the barriers? Pre-zygotic barriers are those barriers that occur before fertilization, that is, that prevent the mating, which means that there can be an altered phonetic cycle. That is, the some species will have, each of the species will have a different breeding period, different they can have a different mating ritual, they can have different a difference in their the reproductive there can be a displacement in the reproductive external reproductive organs. So every species only breeds with its own kind only. So all these barriers, that is the mating behavior, the breeding season, the external reproductive displacement, and all these are the pre-zygotic barrier that prevent mating. But there can be also post-zygotic barriers. In that case, mating is possible, but the organism that is formed, either they die out young or they remain sterile. So these are the post-zygotic barrier. So as a result of this, we see that even after they are reconciled, the two populations are reconciled after a considerable and continuous period of barrier, the two species the two populations do not interbreed anymore. That is, which means that speciation has already occurred. So this is about the stages of speciation in allopatry. Now, the factors that affect are natural selection, because if you are not able to adapt to a particular environment, then you perish. So only those organisms that has an altered frequency of their allele will be naturally selected to live in that particular environment, and this altered the frequency is called genetic drift, the altered frequency of allele. And this genetic drift can also result this altered genetic drift can also be a result of mutation to a new environment. In order there is some mutation that help the organism to survive in the new environment, and as a result of these, from a single species, from a single parent species, many subspecies can develop into new species, and that is called the adaptive radiation, which happened in the Galapagos finches. Now, allopatry can be two types. One here, this is the dumbbell shaped allopatry, where the population is equally divided by the barrier, and another is the peripatry, where we see that the ancestral population is much bigger than the peripheral isolate. So here in the dumbbell shaped model, we are having two equal sized population, but in the peripatric model, we see, which is all the initial population is much larger and the peripheral population is much smaller. So there is dissimilarity in the in between the two divided population. So these are the two models of allopatry. Another is the vicariance, which was proposed by Leon Croissant, where he has set an example of South America and Africa, the plants, they as because we know, due to plate tectonics, the once South America, Africa and the Indian plate, they were very close to each other, but as a result of some plate tectonics, South America, Africa and the Indian plate, they moved far apart. But as a result of this moving apart, the plants which were which were close to each other, means which were in a without any geographical barrier earlier. Now due to the geographical barrier of ocean, there is no genetic interaction. So each of these plants of South America, Africa, and the Indian subcontinent, they have evolved into new species, or still evolving. They are the subspecies of the parent species. So in this way, uh, allopatric model has been seen. Allopatry has been seen in many plant species in South America, Africa, and the Indian. There is another example where we see the spotted owl. Here we see that the Cascade Range. Here is the Cascade Range, and we have the Sierra Nevada range here, the Rockies here. I'm not drawing it in perfect way, but then we are having the Grand Canyon somewhere here. So we see that the spotted owl, they are bit isolated by these mountain range. So we have three subspecies of spotted owl. One is the northern spotted owl. I am drawing it with blue. So it is in this side of the Cascade Range. Then we have in these three places, we are having the Mexican owl, and we have the Californian owl here. So we see that each of the spotted owl, they are separated by these mountain ridges and the plateaus here. So as because these owls, they cannot live in very cold environment, so they are not able to cross these high mountains and move out. So as because of this, they are they got isolated, and there is no genetic interaction between these subspecies of owl. And so each of this, they have developed certain altered frequency of their alleles, as a result of which they no longer interbreed. And as a result of this no longer interbreeding, that is isolation, reproductive isolation, they have developed into new species, and not they are actually developing into new species of owl. Another example of allopatry is the mammal, as well as small mammals found on the either side of Colorado River, on the either side of the Grand Canyon. So if this is the Colorado River that is cutting through the Colorado Plateau, creating the canyon. So in the northern rim, we have this kaibab squirrel, which is different from the Albert squirrel in the southern rim, both in the phonetic as well as genetic character. So phonetically, we can distinguish the kaibab squirrel from the Albert squirrel, is that the kaibab squirrel, they have got a grayish or black colored belly. On the other hand, and the southern rim Albert squirrel, it is having a white colored belly. Also, the Albert squirrel have a much fluffy tail as compared to the northern kaibab squirrel. Also, the southern Albert squirrel has got a much smaller ear tussle as compared to the northern. Here we see, this is the south rim squirrel, which was originally like this. Now it has totally developed into, I know this picture is not that much good, but due to zooming, it has lost its value. So we see that this is looking different from the south rim squirrel is looking different from the north rim squirrel. And this is because of the creation of the canyon. They have actually not been able to move across the canyon, because the lower side, at the very base of the canyon, it is very hot and dry desert. So they are not able to cross that amount of arid land, so they are getting isolated, reproductively isolated, and developed into new species. Similar thing was also found in case of Drosophila, and this actually Drosophila, they are found along the south, very many region across South America. Actually, we have this is, if this is the South American continent, and we have this Andes. So on the west as well as the east side of the Andes, we have got different subspecies of Drosophila, as because this Drosophila cannot cross over the mountain due to extreme cold, so they have developed many subspecies. For example, this Drosophila willistoni and Drosophila equinoxalis, these two Drosophila taken from the either side of Andes, and when grown under lab condition and then mated, that is, when grown under lab condition, they were grown under equal amount of temperature and all other conditions, but still then also when the hybrid was obtained, the males, they were completely sterile, and the females were sometime they were fertile. So we see these two type, when they are grown, they have a partial reproductive isolation, that is, the males are sterile. So this is the male sterility is actually post zygotic sterility, and the same result was obtained when we further other two species, that is the equinoxalis and Equinoxalis caribensis, they were mated in under lab condition, then also they have got certain amount of sterility. So this partial sterility, irrespective of who the mother's subspecies is, it is actually, it shows that they have developed into they are in a process, or they are developed into a new species. So they are either incipient species, semi species, or totally developed into new species. So there also we see that the Andes mountain has created a barrier which has created many subspecies or incipient species of Drosophila. So this was about the allopatry, where I explained it with examples taking from Galapagos finches, as well as the kaibab, as well as Albert squirrel on either side of the canyon rim, and about the Drosophila, about the spotted owl. So if you have any queries regarding any allopatry or any other ecological questions, and you want me to discuss any topic, do write it in the comment section. I've started the ecology portion, and I've also made other videos regarding algae, fungi, lichens, bryophyte, pteridophytes. You can go to my channel and watch those videos. I make videos for BSc and MSc syllabus. And if you like this video, please do share it with your friends, and please do subscribe. And your subscription really encourages me. And next I will be making videos on sympatry, parapatry, peripatry. Also at the same time I'll be making some videos on pteridophytes and bryophytes also. Thanks again for watching my videos, and please do subscribe.